Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Amber Valley series. There are 35 parishes in this beautiful slice of eastern Derbyshire. Here's one for your viewing pleasure. Welcome back to Amber Valley, people, for the final time this year, and actually the final time for a while, because in 2024 Wednesdays are going to be a mixture of all the remaining Derbyshire districts. So you're going to see Derbyshire Dales, you're going to see South Derbyshire, possibly even some High Peak if I deign to start it eventually. Anyway, where are we today? Well, we're right on the boundary here between Amber Valley and the Derbyshire Dales. Here you can see behind me I've got the board that says welcome to Amber Valley, and we're in the parish of Turnditch. This video is sponsored by Bassett Law Pro Clean, specialist floor and upholstery cleaners based in Retford, Nottinghamshire. Do you have a commercial space, own a restaurant, hotel or pub, maybe an office block? Bassett Law Pro Clean cover the entire country for commercial work. And they have a special offer. Quote the Village Idiot when you inquire and get a massive 7.5% off. Need it cleaned by the experts? Contact Bassett Law Pro Clean now. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Our last foray into Amber Valley this year sees us take on Turnditch, a linear village which lies on the side of a steep hill which climbs out of the Ecclesbourne Valley towards Ashbourne. Despite its hillside setting, Turnditch's name means winding ditch. In Norman times it was within Duffield Frith and part of the manor of Duffield. These days it flies solo, although it shares a parish council with the equally small Windley, which we've already covered. It's primarily all about one road here, the A517 or Ashbourne Road if you will. For 1.2 miles it stretches from the border with the Derbyshire Dales to the border with Shottle and Postern. Every major landmark in the village is sited on the same piece of tarmac. They include a church, a school, a pub, the village hall, an old chapel and an active chapel, Greenbank. Even the River Ecclesbourne gets in on the act because it flows under the A517 at the parish's eastern extremity. There are side streets, but all of them are cul-de-sacs, making Turnditch the most linear settlement we've ever seen, bar none. Farming was the main way of life out here, although less so these days. One online review I found about the place describes Turnditch as the mid-Derbyshire parish that's remained an idyllic little corner of old England. I reckon that's fair. So, shall we go and see it then? I reckon we should. For the last time in Amber Valley this year. Let's walk. We start at the western end of Turnditch with this magnificent view to the north into the Derbyshire countryside. You'll find that at Turnditch's 150-year-old pub, the Tiger, a Marston's Inn, which has been run by the same family for 20 years. The Tiger holds the world record for the number of pies to choose from on Pie Night, Thursdays. It stands at almost 200. Next to the pub is the village hall. Named Crompton Inglefield, it gets part of its name thanks to Lady Inglefield, the lady of the manor. Lady Inglefield was a great village benefactor and was the heiress of the Derbyshire banker John Gilbert Crompton. Here's another view of the local scenery, this time looking east, directly opposite the village hall. Pretty impressive stuff. Time to leave my mark on the place. Tick off Turnditch, everyone. With this card, Amber Valley is down to 11. On the bend in the road nearby is the old vicarage, an imposing building made of red brick, dominating the hilltop. Everything so far has been on top of that hill, until now. Here begins the descent into the Ecclesbourne Valley. As the road starts to dip, note the white property ahead of us. That's the old post office, which these days is a private house. Okay, so as you saw from the road sign there, this is the point now where the hill starts to dip down sharply, 10%. To begin this episode, I walked from that far end down there up this hill, and trust me, it's not something you want to be doing quite often. So we've reached the school. You can hear there's some children in the playground. Obviously can't see them on the camera, so I purposely positioned the camera so you can't see them. And yeah, there is the school right there. If you go past the school, you then are heading for the church, which you can kind of see just there on your left hand side. Let's go and explore that next. There are only two listed buildings in Turnditch. One is the church, the other is the school. This was built in 1846. Made of red brick, it was originally a national school. Above the former main entrance is a clock turret, added in 1910. Directly opposite the school is All Saints Church. Originally built in the 13th century, most of this dates from 1884. That's when it was enlarged and the chancel was substantially rebuilt. It has a nave, a south porch and a gabled bellcote. Much like the church at Dethick, this one has a sundial by its door on a stone pillar. All Saints was built as a chapel of ease. For many years it's also been a chapel of ease for the school. They have in the past used the church as an extra classroom. The churchyard contains one Commonwealth war grave, that of Edward Walker, a member of the Army's Medical Corps. Hunter's Moon now. In 1895, a cloakroom was made by roofing over the space between it and the school next door. Hunter's Moon was called Bank View at that time. Just after it we find the phone box. This one though is empty. We're about halfway through the village. A quick look forwards again shows you how much the hill still has to go to the bottom. Okay, so we've reached Pump Yard and you can see why it's called Pump Yard if I just hop out of the way. There you go, there's the old pump, just there. Right in front of this house here. The whole complex here is called Pump Yard. Now at this point you can see just how much the road is starting to fall away. In the distance you've got a big valley, and this goes sloping downwards into that valley, and at the bottom of the valley there is obviously a river which will be our kind of our end point. The end point is actually an old station on the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway. So let's keep going. Here's a bus stop. Turnditch is served by just one bus, the 113, which connects Belper to Ashbourne via the A517. Here's a look back up the hill. You can tell from the angle of the slope just how much of a climb it was up the road to the start. The incline though is starting to flatten as we approach the valley floor. Next to see is an old chapel on the right. This was a primitive Methodist chapel. It was built in 1820 and later became the village institute and reading rooms. On its wall we find the War Memorial, a simple granite tablet listing 15 names, 11 from World War I and 4 from World War II. The garden in front of it features a bench placed here in the year 2000 to celebrate the turn of the new millennium. There used to be a second pub on this stretch. It was called the Cross Keys and it was a 16th century coaching inn. However, it closed its doors in 2016. The former pub is now this row of 4 new apartments constructed by DCH. Now, do you remember in the Shottle and Postern episode where I said that Postern doesn't really exist. It's just a name given to the area that's covered by Cowers Lane and a few other things to the south of Shottle. Well, here in Turnditch, I found something with Postern on its side. Look at this here. One Postern view. Just there, look. So maybe it does exist after all. Greenbank was built in 1818 as a congregational chapel. Attached to it is a Sunday school, and this is still very much active. It features a handsome marble tablet to the memory of William Statham, who founded the chapel with Abraham Harrison of Belper. We're almost now at the bottom of the hill. That big house you can see near my car is called Riverside Cottage. In the distance you can see Shottle Station on the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway. And speaking of the Ecclesbourne, now that we've made it to the valley floor, the river is right underneath our feet. Literally, here it is under a bridge carrying the road. Atlantic salmon were reintroduced to this stretch of the Ecclesbourne earlier this year. I didn't catch any though, it seems. And as the station draws ever nearer, so too does the boundary with Shottle and Postern, and the end of the walk. Well, this is definitely one of those places where it's easier to walk downhill than it is uphill, but of course I've had to do both. But yeah, there we go. That's been Turnditch, and that has been Amber Valley for this year. The remaining parishes, the 11 that are left, will come your way at some point next year. I am going to try and finish Amber Valley next year with all the rest of the Derbyshire stuff that's coming out on Wednesdays. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll be another district in the books in 2024. But that's been Turnditch, and that's been Amber Valley for 2023, and I'll see you next year, people. Folks, that's a wrap for Amber Valley this year. As I said on camera, there are 11 left in this part of Derbyshire. Some of them are huge places like Belper, Ripley and Heanor. They'll all be coming next year though, mixed in primarily with some parishes in the Dales. Join me next year for the last push through central Derbyshire. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.